Welcome to today's episode of Ghostlight. I'm your host, Benjamin Reed, and today I am joined by fourth generation director, actor, and educator, Jenny Bennett. Jenny, welcome to Ghostlight. Thanks for being here.
I thank you.
Well, so I want to start right off with that title. Tell us a little bit about the three generations that preceded you.
Sure. Well, my great grandmother, Teresa, toured a vaudeville circuit um, as a sort of child performer. For a while, came back home, started a theater in what was the Apple Orchard, and she and my grandmother then sort of ran that theater. It was called the Willoway Theater in Bloomfield Hills, Michigan. Um, And it was a touring house for a while, so lots of folks would come through there, like Lottie Lenya and Vincent Price, and but then it was a producing theater, and then my grandmother presided over that theater um, as a director, and also there was an education component to it as well. There was a training program. Lots of folks came through there. Woody King, who just passed away, um, was there. Then my mom was also a director and educator, um, primarily education, what with the two kids and being a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's me, and then like my aunts and cousins and my brother. It's a family disease. Yeah,
A family
and
affair.
then there's
Well,
yes.
so did theater feel like destiny or choice?
No, I resisted it.
Hmm.
And was encouraged to resist it. I'm actually a great disappointment to my mother, God rest her soul, because I was supposed to be president or an astronaut or president of the astronauts, definitely not to go into the theater. And but then I, you know, grew up on a cot in the back of a theater. And so, in high school and stuff, did, governor's school and then went to the University of Virginia so that I could get, and I wanted to get a BA, and have a rounded education. And then, as it turns out, spent all my time in the theater. Uh, so, so uh, 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 I guess it's a little bit, perhaps it's a little, a classical tragedy, trying to avoid one's fate and thereby ensuring it. I don't know.
Okay, so you went to undergrad, you got a BA, and what led to your choice to apply to graduate school?
Well, I had uh, been out of college for about 4 years and was working in various theaters and some touring educational theater, you know, gigging. I was young. And it was interesting because I was at this point where I was choosing again. I guess it's a theme. Um, am I going to stick with this or am I going to invest my time, attention, skill, and curiosity in a career that's a little more sustainable, where you can make, what's the word, a living. And but I, when in doubt, I'd go see a play, go to the theater.
Yeah.
And I was living in Milwaukee at the time, and I just kept going to the theater. And every time I would be like, wow, that person's great. Where did they go? And and I read their bio, and this particular grad school kept coming up, the professional theater training program, which had been in Milwaukee, but was then at that point in Delaware. One in particular show I saw, Dancing at Lunasa, Brian Friel's great play, at Milwaukee Rep. Um, and the great Laurie Birmingham uh, was playing Maggie, and she's standing at this table working in, the never ending way of Irish women making bread or something.
Hmm.
And there's this moment where she stopped time, took this handful of flour, threw it on her face, and became this wild, dancing spirit that then transforms her sisters on the stage and the whole audience. And it was this astonishing moment. And I was like, you know what? I want to do that.
Mm.
And um and I looked, it's like, oh, she went to the PTTP too. And I didn't, in fact, want to go to the PTTP because my aunt had gone there. And again, the resisting, what resists
Hmm.
persists, of the family disease. Um, my aunt had gone to the PTTP before then. My mom actually trained with Jewel Walker, who was the movement master and a core of the program back at Carnegie in the 60s. So if I was going to go to grad school, I definitely didn't want to go there. And yet, all of these tremendous actors that I saw,
Hmm.
that I wanted to change the world like they changed the world a moment at a time,
Yeah.
with went there. And so like, okay, and they only accepted a class every 3 years, and it happened to be that time. So it's the only place I applied, actually.
Wow.
And yeah, and went there.
And it was pretty competitive program to get into.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
they only accepted a class every, I guess every 4 years, because the program would be 3 years. So they spent the whole time with one class, and
Yeah.
then they took a year to recruit the next one. So yeah, it was pretty special. It was pretty great.
Did you learn how to become a flower-faced dancing spirit? What what do and I guess what do you admire about the performances, the people who came through that program, and then
Mhm.
what did you discover there that connected the two for you?
I admired their utter presence,
Hmm.
their listening, being in their body, and that presence. It's always now in the theater, right? And the actors that I saw with those great moments of wow, were utterly right now in a unity of body, mind, and text, creating the world, and with and for me out in the audience,
Hmm.
which is um, you know, something eternal, as Thornton Wilder says, right? They had the ability to, by changing who they were being on the power of great words, right here, right now, with me, through me out here, requiring me, trusting me, um, expand the universe, and everything sort of makes sense in it. I don't know. It's why, I mean, I'm always going to the theater for that experience. And it's the kind of theater I like to make and be
Hmm.
in. So, so just that, just changing the world. That's what I liked
Well,
about it.
great. And so then what do you know now that you didn't know before after the PTTP? I mean, did you pick up skills that you feel like helped you to execute on that?
Yes, yes, I did. Um, um, so yeah, the the discipline of practice, of literal rehearsal, rehearing, repeating, um, the technique of stagecraft, and how it
Hmm.
exists in your body, and how it exists in your speaking, and all of that stuff, and recognizing what's a choice and what's a habit, that
Yeah.
that thing, because it's insane to be an actor. Who would do it? Who would do it? It's bonkers, right? You stand up on your hind legs with your most stabbable parts facing everybody. And now these people are staring at you as you say words written by somebody else to be a person that you are not, wearing clothes that ain't yours, and creating this mass delusion that you are this other person in uh, fictional circumstances, but making those present and alive and real. And so just that bonkers condition is a recipe for tension, anxiety, all of that stuff. And the great value of good actor training is technique to to get in your body and your voice and your nervous system, the ability to accomplish that magic trick. Um, and so the ability to be present, whole, healthy in all kinds of ways for whatever journey you're going on. Um, if you're, perhaps a psychopathic dude who has to rip out somebody's eyes over and over again, you got to, there's strategies and ways of being in this workplace. Let's be clear, it's a workplace, and you got to, safety in that workplace is a little different for actors than it is for um, jobs where you're not mining your being and breathing and body and telling a story out there of various emotional states that may include just terrible, terrible things.
Hmm.
Um, and you got to be able to take care of yourself for that. Um, and so, yeah, all of the physical, vocal, um, ontological, breath work that one does in rigorous actor training is really useful.
Yeah. Yeah. The thing that it reminded me of was learning neutral in a way that,
Hmm.
you'd never, no normal person would ever learn what neutral is because they don't need to in order to go through life.
Yeah.
But to build a character or to be um, plastic, changeable, to play, the psychopath in King Lear one night
Hmm.
and then the next night uh, be a comedian, that kind of ability to change, you have to have that awareness. And I,
Hmm.
I definitely learned that in grad school and did not learn it in undergrad.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, undergrad was interesting because it was a BA program um, at UVA. And so there were a lot of opportunities to, and there was also a grad program there. There was an MFA program. I was in the BA.
Hmm.
Um, and so, so it was a little different. Like my friend and I, we ran out of classes to take in the trauma department, and they let us take a few of the grad ones. But there were a lot of opportunities there to be a really well-rounded theater maker. Because there was a studio space, a black box, as well as a big proscenium, and the black box was available to self-produce, and you would like apply to the department for $50 or something to pay for the rights for a show you wanted to do, to apply to do a showcase, and
Hmm.
then you would make that happen. You'd cast it and rehearse it, and you'd get a couple performances in there, and you could do that whenever you wanted to with the support of the building,
Hmm.
and all of the structures in the department. I was on work study, and so I also got to do a whole bunch of um, learn a lot of jobs by doing them. My second year, Levon Ho, amazing man, put me and my friend Tina in charge, and my friend Nicole in charge of the props shop. Like, we were the props people for the entire season, and we're down there, and I'm like 19 going, I don't know. But we did it. We built Amadeus and Cloud Nine and a whole bunch of other shows I can't remember. The trauma runs too deep, but we did it, and I got
Hmm.
to do that. And then another year I got to be on the electrics crew on lights. Um, Frightened of heights though I am, going up in that cherry picker. Um, and then another year in the box office. And so and some company management and stuff like that. So it was a really great opportunity in that program and programs like it as especially I think as before you specialize. Um, I'm a fan of how I did it, right? But because I think it's a great thing for actors to practice all kinds of other disciplines in theater making or filmmaking or TV making, because it makes I'm a better actor because I direct. I'm a better director because I act. I'm a better both of those because I produce. Um, and who I am in the room is absolutely grounded in experience of and respect for all the folks it takes to make a play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I learned something about you prepping for this that I was not aware of, which is that
Uh-oh.
you started a theater company in Taiwan.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
So
I
how do we get from PTTP to Taiwan to starting a theater company?
Well, after grad school, I, came to New York, auditioned and, scrabbled and the hustle thing, which I'm not great at. And I was worse then. But just the whole multiple uh pulls on your attention to survive as well as build, you know, theater practice.
Hmm.
But I got this gig from actually a PTTP connection, um, where they were producing this production of Hamlet specifically to tour in Taiwan. Robert
Hmm.
Anderson and Wayne Pyle and those guys. Robert Anderson directed it and also played Polonius. Brilliant. Um, Ty Jones was Hamlet. Um, and so I got in there. I think, who was I? I was like Marcellus and the Player Queen and maybe somebody else. Yeah. And so we rehearsed in the States and then went to Taiwan with this production. And we performed in all of the big West Coast cities. We were at the National Theater in Taipei and went down to like Hsinchu and Taichung and Tainan and Kaohsiung. And
Wow.
it was my first time in a culture so different from my culture of origin. And
Hmm.
I was interested in that. And I'd always wanted to travel. I'd always wanted to be a citizen of the world. Um, but that experience really made me notice, wow, this is so different from my culture of origin. And I just got really curious about it and about being illiterate, being not able just to read all of the signs and marketing. And
Hmm.
I was interested in the kind of theater that I could make. I was interested in all of it, in the difference. And we were down in Kaohsiung we had a couple days off down there because our tour coincided with Dragon Boat Festival. And so we actually had a couple days off in that city, which was great. Um, and I really loved that city. Um, it's sort of the second city of Taiwan. It's on the southwest coast. It's At the time it was like the third or fourth largest container port in the world, and it might still be. I don't know. But it's down there on the coast, just below the Tropic of Cancer, and the weather's amaze and much better than Taipei. Don't tell them I said so. And I met some folks who were expats from various countries all over the world, and I got a notion of the kind of that there was a path where I could do that, because I've never been, I wasn't in a position to, I don't know, pay somebody a bunch of money so I could travel. I've never,
Hmm.
um, and so I understood that I could accomplish travel and living for a while abroad while having a job and, doing that. And so 7 weeks after we got back to New York from that tour, I up and moved to Kaohsiung just for a year, but it turned into 7 years. Um, and got to do all kinds of, make all kinds of fabulous mistakes. And yeah, started a theater company with international and local artists. Um, at the end of that first year, we did our first production. We did a Dangerous Liaisons, 危
Hmm.
险关系 in English and Mandarin. Um, and we grew that company. It was an arts fusion company. Grew it. We eventually had our own space. Um, and did some work with some dear, dear, dear people. But the way I went there was um, uh, I taught English, and I taught English through theater practice. I did, early on, I worked at some bushibans, little cram schools with those children who go to school all day and then they go to another school at night. Um, and so that was kind of what our company explored, was and sort of where we had some experience, was sort of the English interested community, and a way to explore um, language acquisition through other content, right? Um, whether it was a dance class or a kung fu class or theater practice. And yeah, worked with some really great folks who remain dear buddies to this very day.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, so it turned into 7 years, and I also taught. After my first year or so there, I moved from the cram school life to teaching at a university, where in the applied foreign languages department, where the big project was um, English acquisition through theater practice. And so
Hmm.
I would this it would be like this 2 semester class with like 40 people in it, and we would take on uh, me and my collaborator, Dr. Ann Augusta Kathy Carver. uh, Ann Carver, genius, dramaturg, brilliant. We would choose a play that either was itself or was based in something like a cornerstone of English language literature or Western culture literature to work on. So there was like a literary element to it as well. All of the students in the theater project would have a performance responsibility, as well as producing or crew responsibility. So, in addition to working on the text or music in English, they would get to practice business negotiation, um, interpretation with local vendors, and then having their crew in English, report all kinds of stuff, include, building sets and costumes. And another great collaborator, Joe Bissell, who was our production manager. Um, and so over 2 semesters would do work on this one big show that would perform at the university, and then we would also tour into town, into another place. So they got a lot of experience. And by the end of that theater project, um, I, they had, there's nothing like the theater to practice and to train the need to speak as far as language learning goes,
Hmm.
nothing like it. And so, if they had peers who were, because they tended to be seniors, juniors or seniors in the group, except for this one guy, Brian, who did it all 4 years. He was there. Um, and at the end of their time, because of that project-based learning, and the opportunity and just what we were working on, they would like crack jokes in English. They would have confidence to speak in English in
Mm-hmm.
a sort of improvisational way, with giving themselves some grace to be fine with being in communication in a
Mm-hmm.
way that, you know, the, frequent language acquisition classroom practice of where is the library? The library is, where you have a sentence pattern and you repeat it and swap things in, is very useful. But improvising and being and communicating is something you can really get at through the theater. So that was a long road to go down in that conversation, but I'm really proud of that work, and I'm still in touch with a lot of those. I can't say kids anymore because now they're like 40, but
Is there any overarching kind of lesson that you learned about storytelling from that time that sticks with you as an artist today?
absolutely. Oh, absolutely. It's where I practiced and developed, the corner of my artistic vision. I make
Mm.
plays where the unheard are listened, the power is questioned, and the women are people. And speaking, good theater, good speaking begins with good listening. As does, I've always been interested in language, so interested in it. I love words, I love sounds of words. And it was a big part of why I went to Taiwan in the first place, and why I stayed there and explored um, the essence of communication,
Mm.
exploring um, what is possible. And, those English and Mandarin are very, very different. They work in really different ways, but, we exist in language and it matters. Um, and so basically, my conclusion is if two people are committed to communicating, no matter what language they speak, communication will happen. Yeah, maybe not like the fine points but it's the commitment that matters. And if two people are communicating, if they are not committed to listening and exchange, even if they're speaking exactly the same language fluently, then communication will not happen, and
Yeah.
comedy or tragedy will ensue. um so yeah, I carry all of that with me to this day. I also, working in a multilingual environment, affects the kind of physicality that I like in a play. I like, if somebody is unable to hear or comprehend the language spoken in a play that I'm working on, if they're watching it, they should be able to feel the flow and the shape of the progression of like, oh, whoa, 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 feel that.
Mm-hmm.
And similarly, if they can't see it, if they can only hear it, I hope that it's clear, that the story is clear and alive in all of those ways. To have everyone in the room included and feel smart and like we all belong there together, because I think
Yeah.
that's the opportunity of live theater.
It's a lesson I've learned in running a business, and is like messaging and communication is so incredibly important and so incredibly difficult to get people on the exact same page, right? To get them really synced up, because what I've learned is like I will say one thing but they will hear something different. um
Hmm.
and often that has to do with a breakdown of communication on my end. The words I'm choosing aren't precisely clear, and I bring that all back around to, I think theater is a way that it helps us like sync up together. Like we as collaborators, we get onto the same page, and then as the audience, we all sync up into this story. Um, and it's like a very intense form of communication.
Yeah. And I would argue as well that there's things that you can't hear until there's an audience. There's something about it going through and with the
Mm,
audience that makes, oh, that makes the play. Um, and also just like in that's so great what you were saying about the words I'm saying and what's being received.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I guess I would amend that lesson that I learned about commitment to communicating. And if there's commitment, it happens, and if there's not commitment, it doesn't happen. And I would add an asterisk that I would argue that for the most part, and there are exceptions, but for the most part, people are doing the best they can, and the gap between intent and impact
mm,
um, e- exists, and how we navigate repairing that gap or filling in that gap and having grace with with the gap and bridging it and getting on the same page, you know, I think ends up being, frankly, how we spend our one wild, precious life.
mm,
And the opportunity um, to do that and connect with people um, is the point.
mm.
Yeah.
Tell me about the most successful production that you've been involved in.
What do you mean by successful? See,
Exactly. I
so
was leaving
there's
that open to you to interpret. What do you think? What?
what a good question that is. So there's lots. I have a lot of experience in a lot of paradigms of theater making. Um, Here's the thing: I think a production is successful when all those heartbeats in the audience get synced up, and whoever they were when they walked in, they sync up, and they're different when they walk out. What a success! Look at those
Mm,
individual human beings who are going to iteratively then bubble out into this place and this place and this place. And it makes a change. Um, as far as scale of how many people, um, I guess in New York, my production of Three Musketeers, it was the New York City premiere of Catherine Bush's Three Musketeers with the Classical Theater of Harlem in Marcus Garvey Park. And that park is it's free for everybody. People just show up. You have like 1,000 people a night, and so lots and lots of people um, got those bubbles of uh, of uniting and changing and the joy and heartbreak and all of the things in the Three Musketeers. And it was really great to get to do that with Classical Theater of Harlem, um, with that original novel written by, a black man. It was great. And all the way down to, though, a tiny little Mackers that Macbeth that I did at my theater company in Kaohsiung, in our little small what became our black box, um to all of I really loved our part 3 of Henry VI, which at the American Shakespeare Center. um I Whenever I'm asked what's your favorite Shakespeare play, which is, it changes with the moment, but Henry VI part 3 is always up there. Henry VI part 3 and Winter's Tale run a tight.
mm,
I love that bonkers play. I love it.
me
I love
too.
it. I love it. I love it. It's at least my way into it. It's an anti-war war play. And especially when you get to work with geniuses, it's really um, really great. And I loved what we did in that space. I loved our, you know, uh, I love the ASC. I love the American Shakespeare Center. I love that analog space. I love that Virginia oak. I love
Hmm.
that it's analog. I love that you're free from the twittering, chirping, beeping, mechanical, you know, stuff of this world. And you just are in space with human beings being brilliant, changing who they're being because they say so right now,
Hmm.
seeing the audience seeing you, see them, and that loop and making it together. It's like the purest, most delicious place to play, I think. So,
I was reflecting on the question as you were reflecting on the question, and that season, I think for me, it was like the most successful season I've ever been a part of.
mm,
And I was thinking about why, and there were many reasons why, and it was the fact that all these things happened simultaneously, which was the the group of artists that we were working with were particularly strong, and not only were they strong performers and artists with great skill and craft, but they were also like very good friends and had been working together for multiple years. And then the mixture of the shows, we had Peter and the Starcatcher, Much Ado About
mm-hmm.
Nothing, Henry VI Part 3, like all these really great and differing titles with a
Yep.
strong cast and strong directors. Um, and then the other thing that makes me think of it as such a successful season is, I mean, particularly Much Ado and Peter and the Starcatcher, that space that you love so much, that I love so much, it was full so often.
Yeah.
And the thing about the American Shakespeare Center, and probably any space, is like it sings when it's at capacity,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
There's like a magical energy when the room is totally full and the audience's attention is all zoom like in on the action. And I
Mm-hmm.
experienced that. I was in Broadway recently. My first Broadway show ever. I saw Wicked. Um,
Oh, great.
yeah, with my two little girls and with Lauren, we got to see Wicked on Broadway, and it was the energy in the room. It was electric, and it made the experience.
And it's also nice when, yeah, when folks are just they're just game. And I feel
Hmm.
like that when the audience is game to uh to play and to be a part of it and say yes and roll with it. Yeah.
So earlier in this episode, you made a sardonic comment about the sustainability of this career and choosing this space to earn a quote unquote living. Can you tell me a little bit about what that has been practically for you and how it might have changed over your lifetime?
Oh, sure. Eh, I mean, I don't know, maybe I can talk about it's always been a challenge because of just structures that are in place that try, kind of like education. um, there's not good margins in
Hmm.
making art. Um, and when it becomes like commercial, right, with the hope or expectation of it becoming a profit,
Hmm.
which is really rare. So it's only like 20% of Broadway shows that recoup. Um,
Hmm.
and I'm so interested in finding a way to have have it be sustainable career for folks because right now because it's just it's a gig to gig thing, aside from a very, 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 very few um, actors and directors who may be in a resident company, um, most theater makers are gig to gig. Uh, but that's not how the structures of living are set up in this country, right?
Right.
So, for example, here's a really specific example from my life, like when the APTCs, the advanced premium tax credits for health insurance on the uh, Affordable Care Act, when those went away last year, my family was really affected by that. And so because that's how we were getting our health insurance,
Yeah.
with occasional, like when I had enough work weeks with equity or with SDC, I'd have 6 months at a time. You have to like earn your weeks or earn the contributions ahead of time in order to get 6 months or a year of health insurance coverage after that for yourself, not your partner, not your spouse.
Right.
Juggle, juggle, juggle. We all have master's degrees. We should in, healthcare administration, but that's a big thing. It's a big
Yeah.
thing. And so now I have a way of getting it through an employer that's about twice as much as what it cost before, which is still half of what it would be if we were getting it on the exchange.
Yeah.
Um, and that's a real thing because it affects going somewhere or not going
Mm-hmm.
somewhere. Also, when the kinds of shows that get produced, the ideal scenario right now in a tricky economy, in a bad economy, is one person who is also the director and the writer and ideally wrote music for it too. uh
Right.
the plays that turn me on right now, they always do, but like, I like the epic stuff. I like lots of people. And
Mm-hmm.
self-producing that is hard when you are committed, as I am. I'm not asking people to work for free. Um, but like I'm really into all of these mid-century plays right now, mid-20th century plays right now, when artists were really confronting the horrors that are possible that humans can do to each other.
Mm-hmm.
After that war, actually a couple maybe between those world wars and a good handful like right after World War II or a little bit mid. Like, did you know? I just realized this past year. It hadn't dropped for me that Thornton Wilder's play The Skin of Our Teeth. He wrote that in like it was like 42 or something. It was before anyone knew how that was going to turn out.
Mm-hmm.
And the questions and the grappling with the universe and humanity and time and the apocalypse that happens over and over in that play.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know. It fascinates me, and I think that those conversations, something is classic because it's eternal, or because there's something in the conversation of it that matters right now. And I think it's that kind of thing where there's enormous change, enormous danger, enormous risk, um, enormous cruelty, enormous hope, enormous survival, enormous community, all at the same time. That just
Mm-hmm.
knocks my socks off, you
Hmm.
know? And I think it's useful to be with right now. Um,
But
and so this all goes back to that producibility question. Like
right.
a play that I really, 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 really want to do right now has 23 people in it. And yes, of course, I can cut it down and make it so like 3 people do it and they change clothes all the time. And it's like a clown show of it. Um, and yet it really wants
Yeah.
a community because it's different that way. So I just need to raise $1 million for it. That's all.
That's all.
Um, that's all. But it's expensive to, I mean, and also like right now, like whether Broadway or anywhere else, it's expensive to produce theater. It's not like I'm not um compassionate or aligned with producers trying to make those numbers work. It is hard to
Yeah.
make them work when you need to pay folks working for a living, the cost of space, the cost of materials, the cost of marketing, the cost of the cost of the cost of the costs are no joke.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the challenges is that in this country, we don't have a robust uh, national support for the arts. I remember when I did the director's lab at the Lincoln Center Director's Lab, whenever I did that, 2012 or 2012 and 13, I think. And one of the great things about that program that no longer exists, which is too bad, that went away, um, I think in the first, yeah, sometime around 2020. But it was this tremendous program with like 75 or 80 directors from all over the world, maybe half from the US, but the other half of directors from like everywhere. Um, and frankly, one of the challenges to keeping that director's lab going had to do with how difficult it had become with various changes in state departments and embassies to be able to guarantee that when they said to somebody, in Uganda, yeah, hop on that bus and hitchhike your way to the city, and there will be a ticket and a visa for you waiting there to guarantee that you
Mm-hmm.
can come to this thing in New York, was um, broken. But um, when I went to the director's lab, and we spent like 3 or 4 weeks together doing all kinds of amazing things in a way that directors rarely get to be together.
Mm-hmm.
Directing can be a pretty solitary thing. So it was a great opportunity for community, for conversation, for experimentation in a safe place, to take risks that didn't have, the show attached to it, but getting to work with actors that Lincoln Center hired, which was awesome. Um, but one of the things that we did was folks would have a little workshop or panel on theater making where they came from, international folks.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I remember I'll never forget, I went to the one um, from a French director talking about making theater in France. Dude, those arts are supported.
Hmm.
People who are actors or directors or theater makers are, and they are compensated by the French public because the French people are clear that art matters
Hmm.
to a safe and thriving society. And, not to mention the national access to health insurance and just all of those little things and just the opportunities available there makes you weep a little bit for how hard it is to scrabble at it here. I mean, frankly, it's one of the reasons I stayed in Taiwan for 7 years was I could produce stuff. I could have access to national health insurance as a foreign worker there. It makes a difference. So
Mm-hmm. Is that where, so would you say that's the clearest path back would be some sort of federal funding, voting, voting for the right people who make the right changes, and that creates some sort of, reestablishment, a new national endowment for the arts?
I think a new national endowment for the arts would be terrific, especially if it's an independent but national endowment for the arts,
Hmm.
um, like as well as like what that impact could be for journalism with NPR and PBS getting
Hmm.
refunded and double funded. Um,
Uh-huh.
with all those local things, local news now breaks on local public radio. Um, it matters. And the relationship, frankly, between those things and the local theaters. But yep, I think that would matter. Um, I think that a lot of the systems that we have right now are tied to employment in a world in which jobs don't work like they did when those systems were set up. Not only for theater workers and arts workers, but there's all kinds of gig workers across this whole economy. And it's part of why everyone feels the pinch. When they feel the pinch, they don't go to the theater as much, even though that's the biggest bang for your buck that you could spend. Because an arts dollar, like one arts dollar, manifests into generating three in the local community. Because people go,
Hmm.
they don't just go to a show, they go to dinner and a show.
Yeah.
They maybe get a hotel, they go to drinks after, they look around the little shop that's nearby. It's a huge bang for your buck. And the way we talk about funding the arts like it's charity is not only bonkers, it's inaccurate. The arts generate more money for our GDP than agriculture does. It's a business. It's just that there's structural things that need to happen, and I am interested that they do. One of those things would be, decoupling health insurance, the access to health insurance, which is access to healthcare, from
Hmm.
a certain kind of employment. Yeah, for everybody. And you know what? I think businesses would be happy about that too. Um, and then, um, yeah, having more support at the local, state, and federal level for um, for the arts in community, which
Yeah.
would not only support artists and the expression, and it's going to the theaters where we go to hear what we think and to hold as twere the mirror up to nature right now and see what's going on right now and explore that in a um and process grief, joy, horror, wit, just
Hmm.
divine, sparkly cotton candy wit. Great. We need that too. Um, and we just and to do it together. And it's where we go to recognize that we are a community. And I'm just really into it, especially this week because let's go Knicks, when we just won the championship and what's happened in New York. Just that there was actually a grief counselor online who referred to it as collective effervescence. Yeah, that's what
Hmm.
it is. That's what it is. And that's why we're all, I mean, I'm a giant New York Liberty fan as of last year because I decided I needed to become a fan of something that had nothing to do with what I do for a living.
Hmm.
uh, and so I'm the newest basketball fan, perhaps. But man, you can't tell me nothing this week. Woo! People, we're just like, yeah, all bouncy. We need more spaces for collective to recognize that experience is collective. And we do
Hmm.
that one performance at a time, one community at a time, one neighborhood at a time. Um, to allow for difference and be together. It's just like any, oh, Benjamin, hope is a discipline. And just like any discipline, it takes practice. And so putting yourself in regular practice of micro community in an
Hmm.
audience or a basketball game. Um, the more you do that, the more you recognize that you are in community. And that what I do impacts you and what you do impacts me. And we can all like look up and
Yeah.
make a world.
Yeah. I've often mused and pondered on the idea of the next the next movement of theater being a new community theater. You
Mm.
know, like, and specifically about these little pockets of community, and fulfilling that need of people to get together and to belong somewhere, and to,
Yep.
you know, band together uh, and process. I mean, like you said, process life, the joys and
Mm-hmm.
the heartaches
Mm-hmm.
with one another, because we are getting more and more separated and more comfortable isolating ourselves. And so I wonder if maybe that's a path forward.
Yeah, for sure. For sure it is. When people get together for the speaking and listening of a play and have an audience, there's theater.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, for folks to practice theater in community ways is, terrific, spectacular. I am also committed that it's a job,
Mm.
and that it's a workforce that uh, builds experience, skill, expertise, and creates, an impact on the culture and the economy, and um, needs all the regular workplace stuff,
Mm-hmm.
pay and benefits and workplace safety and all of that stuff. Um, and uh, Community theater is so great because it's an because because everyone should do it. Everyone should make theater and build that experience of it. And they're not, I don't think they're mutually exclusive by any means. I think all of it
No.
is possible and matters, and can thrive in a healthy um, culture.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we've got to, this relationship, but this is my
Mm.
phone, right? This
Mm-hmm.
is the most rehearsed physical, emotional, spatial, attentional relationship that humans have right now. And we need to throw these into the fiery center of the sun because people like it becomes such a tunnel, and we've got to look up. We've got to
Mm-hmm.
look up. And so one great thing about any live performance, whether it's a concert but I think especially a play or an opera or something where, or symphony maybe, where the expectation is that you're going to get to practice a long phrase of attention
Mm.
out here with fellow attention exercisers, um,
Yeah.
is frankly crucial.
Okay, well, so to wrap us up here, Jenny Bennett, I was curious if there's anything that you've done a 180 on in your theater practice or your acting practice or your directing practice. Is there,
Hmm.
I used to think this, but now I've changed my mind.
Huh. I might have to pickle on that a minute. Used to think this. Um, I don't know. I mean, if I'm talking like way back in my naive days, decades back, I used to think that, some of the best artists were also the best people. That if they were really great at acting or directing or whatever, that they were also just like just like great people. That the greatest people, by which I mean collaborative, communicative, joyful, good eggs, were also some of that in order to be a great artistic collaborator, artist, you
Hmm.
had to be a great person. And I no longer think that that is true. I think that there's lots of people who are really great at certain artistic endeavors that are terrible people. like objectively terrible, and the world is littered with them. But what I will say is that the best, that the people that you want to work with are the best people, the best collaborators, because it's in that being a good egg that all of those skills bubble into transforming into something really new for right now. And that is the best art.
Yeah.
At least in the kind of art that I traffic in. I mean, I
The
don't know, maybe painting
collaborative,
is different. I couldn't tell you. Yeah.
the collaborative nature is
Yeah.
one of the things I think that makes theater such a unique art form.
Yeah. Because it takes all the ingredients into something else.
Yeah.
And then it's over. That's the other thing, is that it will
Temporal.
die.
Mm-hmm.
It is based in time. That experience, like us, will die. It will be over. And
Mm-hmm.
it is therefore precious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great conversation, Jenny. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the podcast and for
Sure.
all of your perspectives. And tell us something you're excited about that's coming up for you. What are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to, well, there's a couple of things. I am looking forward to, sure, I'll put out in the universe, $1 million landing so I can do this production of this giant play that I would really like to do. Why not? But yeah, doing some putting it together of some things like that. I'm looking forward to serving on my community board. I'm looking forward to seeing all of the plays that I'm going to be seeing. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
see, what am I seeing this week? I'm going to go see something at the Irish Rep. I'm going to see, at the Public, they're actually doing through NATCO, the National Asian American Theater Company,
Mm-hmm.
and in relationship with the Public Theater, are doing all three parts of Henry VI into two halves. So it's an adaptation there. So I get to see my favorite show.
A friend of mine is
Um,
in that production, David.
David
Yep.
Wynn, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yep, and Rajesh Bose is another friend of mine who's in there. And Music City, I'm really excited. It's a jukebox musical based set in a bar in Nashville. I love it. My spouse, has worked on it as an associate
Mm-hmm.
music supervisor, I think, and that's coming up again. And it had a run at a different space a couple of years ago, and I went so many times because it made me really happy. Um, and yeah, those are three shows I have coming. I'm looking forward to going to the theater. I'm looking forward to the Liberty, the New York Liberty,
Mm-hmm.
because basketball
Nice.
has become my entire personality. Looking forward to we're season ticket holders this year.
Awesome. Awesome.
I know it's funny. I was like I was not into sports ball until last year when I decided to be, because I wanted to be a fan. And oh, does it feel good to stand up and cheer and hoot and
Yeah.
holler? Yeah.
It's
So,
just another
um,
form
um,
of
um,
theater.
yep, it is. It is. But like from an artistic project, I have a couple projects that I'm working on that are in sort of infant stages to
Yeah.
pitch and all. But I guess mostly I'm looking forward to the $1 million that will make this one project happen.
It will. Well, I can't wait to see it. Jenny, thank you so much. And
Thanks for
I'll
having me.
let us know when that $1 million lands. Okay.
I will. I will.
Okay, perfect. All right, thanks. Well, we'll catch everybody next time on Ghostlight. Thanks for being here.